Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Continuing with aspects pertaining to wudu, the next pertains to wounds or sores. If removal of the ointment from a sore or wound is harmful, then it will not be necessary to remove it. So if a person has a wound or he has a sore and he has ointment on top, if you're going to wash that ointment out, you're going to remove the ointment, then it's going to be harmful for a person. So there's no problem. In that instance where there's going to be harm to a person, he can keep the ointment on the hand. If pouring water over the affected area is also harmful, then merely make masa of the affected part. And if you're going to pour water over that area that is affected, that has a wound, and that's going to be harmful, then you just make masa over it. A person doesn't have to remove that ointment at all. Number 2, if the wound or sore is bandaged, and one will experience difficulty in opening and tying the bandage for masa purposes, or masa on the affected part will be harmful, then masa should be done over the bandage. So if a person got a bandage, maybe sometimes it's a long bandage, or the hospital put the bandage. Now for a person to open up that bandage and wash might become difficult for a person. So in that instance, Sharia says no problem. There's no need to go through that haraj, go through difficulty of opening up the bandage. Just make masa over the bandage, and that will be sufficient. If this difficulty does not exist, then it will be necessary to open the bandage, plaster, etc., and make masa on the affected part. But if a person doesn't go through the difficulty, it's not difficult for him, it's a small bandage, he can open it up, then in that instance he has to open up the bandage and wash, and then he must put the bandage back. Number 3, it is best to make masa over the whole of the upper surface of the bandage. It is best that a person, he makes masa on the whole of the upper surface of the bandage. It is wajib to make masa of more than half the bandage. To make at least half or more than half, that is wajib. If only half, or actually more than half, if only half or less than half the bandage was covered by masa, the wudu will not be valid. So if the person got a bandage, the whole upper portion of the bandage, a person should try and make masa over. But if not, then more than half. But if it is less than half, then the masa will not be valid. The wudu of a person won't be valid. Number 4, after making masa, if the bandage or plaster, etc., came loose and it is realized that the affected part has healed, then the masa will not be valid. The affected part will have to be washed. So after a person, he completed his masa, he finished his wudu, everything, and then the bandage just fell off, or the plaster fell off, and then he realized, oh, it's already healed. So he has to go back and now wash that particular area. That masa that he made, that masa will not be valid any longer. The procedure for performing ghusl, we'll just go through this as a revision. Perhaps all of us know the procedure for performing ghusl. This is the sunnah way of making ghusl. Number 1, make intention of becoming clean from impurities. So a person here also, he must have a niyat that he is becoming clean from impurities when he is making ghusl. Number 2, wash hands including the wrist. So after, when a person starts, he will wash both the hands. Number 3, wash the private parts. The hands and private parts should be washed even if one is not in the state of impurity. So after washing the hands, a person must wash both the private parts. Number 4, if there are any impurities on any part of the body, it should be washed off. Right? Then a person should check if there's any napaki anywhere else on the body, then that napaki must be removed. Number 5, perform wudu. Right? So this is the basic way of starting. First, we wash our hands. After washing our hands, a person, he washes both the private parts. Then he would see if there's any napaki anywhere on the body. So wash out that napaki. And the next stage is now a person comes to make the wudu, like how he makes a wudu for Salaah. If the water is flowing away, then complete the wudu. Meaning if there's a good drainage, then a person must make a complete wudu. He can wash his feet, etc. as well. If the water is stagnant, then wash the feet at the end of the ghusl. For example, if water gathers or it's going very slowly, so you are bathing and at the same time your feet are still in that water. So then you should wash your feet right in the end. Ensure that the mouth and nostrils are thoroughly washed. Number 6, after the wudu, pour water over the head, the right shoulder and then the left shoulder. Repeat this thrice. So after a person has completed the wudu now, so now you pour water first on the head 3 times, then on the right, and then the left 3 times, 3 times. And then the entire body a person should wash. Repeat this thrice. Then pour water over the entire body and rub. Right? So we did this. Dry the body and hasten to cover the body. Do not delay in wearing one's clothing. Person, once he's taken his ghusl, then as quick as possible, a person, the satar should be concealed. He should try and wear his clothing. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam at times wiped the body with a towel, and at times he did not wipe it. In the Arabian Peninsula, generally it's very hot. If a person doesn't even wipe, he just comes out in a short couple of minutes, he's already dry. His body will be dry. In our country, normally it's not such. So normally we wipe. So there's no problem. Either a person wipes or he lets it to dry naturally. Both ways are valid. Any of the two could be adopted with the intention of sunnah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Continuing with the Masaa'il of namaz. Now this kitab was actually written for women. So therefore you'll find there are many Masaa'il, all the Masaa'il actually are for women and some are for both. They're for men and for women. So this particular masla, this is for women. Agar namaz parte waqt chotai pinli, if whilst performing salah, a quarter of the shin, ya chotai ran, or a quarter of the thigh, ya chotai ban khul jawe, or a quarter of the forearm, this becomes exposed. Or itni der khuli rahe jitni der mein 3 bar subhanallah keh sake, and it remains open for that duration in which you can read subhanallah 3 times. We said this yesterday, that if you can say subhanallah 3 times and that area that's supposed to be covered, if a quarter of it becomes exposed, so namaz jati rahi, then the salah of a person is invalid. Now this pertains particularly to the woman. The thigh obviously is for men, we have to cover as well. So if a quarter of the thigh of the man becomes exposed, his namaz also will become invalid if it's open for the duration of 3 subhanallah. But the shin, it is not necessary. Although we wear our pants halfway of the shin. The actual sunnat of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is halfway of the shin, or even a little lower than that, that is acceptable. So there, if it is our shin is exposed, no problem. Why? Because that is not considered as satar. For us, satar is from the navel up to the knee. So for a woman, if the shin or the forearm, for us, if the forearm becomes exposed, no problem. It doesn't affect the validity of salah. But for women, we said yesterday, only the face, the palms and the feet can be exposed. And besides that, any other part of the body, even if the ear, quarter of it becomes exposed for the duration of 3 subhanallah, her salah becomes invalid immediately. Agar to namaz jati rahi, phir se pare, that namaz needs to be repeated. Or agar itni der nahi lagi, balke khulte hi dak liya, to namaz ho gayi. Or if some part of the body that was supposed to be covered in salah, a quarter of it opened up in salah, but not for the duration of 3 subhanallah. Less than 3 subhanallah, maybe 1 subhanallah, and the person covered it immediately, then the salah of a person is intact, there's no problem. Only if it is for 3 subhanallah or more, then the salah of a person is invalid. इसी तरह जितने बदन का ढांकना वाजिब है, इसमें से जब चौथाई उद्वा खुल जाएगा तो नमाज न होगी. So he says exactly the same way, that amount of the body that is wajib to cover, if only a quarter limb opens up, then the namaz of a person, a quarter of that limb opens, the namaz of a person won't take place. Jaise ek kaan ka chotai, a quarter of the ear. Again, this is for women. For the man, this is not the satar. So a quarter of the ear opens up for the woman for the duration of 3 subhanallah, namaz is invalid. Ya chotai sar, or a quarter of the head. Ya chotai bal, or a quarter of the hair. Ya chotai pet, or a quarter of the stomach. Ya chotai peet, a quarter of the back. Chotai gardan, a quarter of the neck. Chotai sina, a quarter of the chest. Chotai chati, and a quarter of the breast. Waghaira khul jane se namaz nahi hogi. If any of these have to open, the salah of a person will be invalid if it's for the duration of 3 subhanallah. Jo ladki abhi jwan nahi hui, agar iski orni sirak gayi और इसका सर खुल गया तो इसकी नमाज हो गई. A girl that hasn't reached the age of baligh as yet, she hasn't reached bulugh, And if her orni that she's wearing, the scarf that she's wearing and performing salah, if that has to slip and her head has to open, then to iski namaz ho gayi, her salah will take place, because namaz is not yet fard on her. So therefore her salah will take place. But it is still better for her that she should follow the proper procedure, because in a way this is now preparing her that when she becomes baligh, she must be able to perform salah in the correct manner as well. अगर कपड़े या बदन पर कुछ नजासत लगी है लेकिन पानी कहीं नहीं मिलता, if there's some impurity on the clothes of a person or the body of a person, and yesterday we did that it's a requisite that there must be no napaki on the clothing or the body. So if there is some impurity and you can't find water anywhere, तो इसी तरह नजासत के साथ नमाज पढ़ लेवे, then a person must perform salah in this manner with that impurity on the clothing. Normally a salah is not valid if it's more than a dirham, we said yesterday, like the palm, the amount of a palm, it has to be washed out. If it's less than that, and if a person perform the salah, it will be valid. So we said that, so if a person now, he's got more than a dirham, more than a palm's amount of impurity on the clothing, but he's out maybe traveling, he can't find water anywhere, so what should a person do? Should they miss salah? No. Even with the impurity, a person must perform salah. और अगर सारा कपड़ा नजिस हो या पूरा कपड़ा तो नजिस नहीं लेकिन बहुत ही कम पाक है, if the entire clothing, let's say a person, all his clothing became napak, or not all the clothing but very little of his clothing, less than quarter of his clothing remained pak, more than 3/4 was napak, more than 3/4 of his clothing was napak, यानी एक चौथाई से कम पाक है और बाकी का सब नजिस है, तो ऐसे वक्त ये भी दुरुस्त है कि इस कपड़े को पहने पहने नमाज पढ़े. So in this situation also, when all his clothing are napak or just a small portion remains pak, less than quarter is pak, then a person can perform salah with that same clothing. Meaning if he's not at home, he doesn't have any other clean clothing, he doesn't have water to wash the clothing, nothing of this sort, and he has to perform, time of salah has come in, so he can perform salah with the napak clothing. और ये भी दुरुस्त है कि कपड़ा उतार डाले और नंगी होकर नमाज पढ़े. Or the second option is, because the clothing is all impure or just a very little is clean, then a person can remove the clothing and without clothing a person performs salah. See the importance of salah, we understand from these Masaa'il, that under no situation, no circumstance can a person miss salah. If the clothing is napak and if a person is not comfortable, he wants to take out his clothing, take out your clothing, and without clothing also a person must perform salah. Although it's better, he'll say just now, it is better that a person doesn't remove the clothing, because the satar must be concealed. So a person must wear the clothing and perform salah. लेकिन नंगी होकर नमाज पढ़ने से इस नजिस कपड़े को पहनकर पढ़ना बेहतर है. But better than performing salah without clothing, a person should wear that napak clothing and perform his salah. But salah cannot be missed out. Some people, they say, we're feeling dirty, we can't read namaz, we must go and have a bath. And sometimes the time is running out. Now by the time they go to have a bath and they put up all the perfumes and makeup and whatever else, sometimes the namaz becomes qaza. So there is no such a thing. A person, time of salah has come in, a person must perform the salah. And just feeling dirty, that is not a valid reason. There's no impurity, there's no napak in a person. Just make your wudu and perform your salah. After that, a person can go and shower, a person can go and do whatever he wants. But the salah must be performed. और अगर चौथाई कपड़ा या चौथाई से ज्यादा पाक हो तो नंगी होकर नमाज पढ़ना दुरुस्त नहीं. But if more than quarter of the clothing is pak, more than quarter, so just over half maybe napak, more than quarter is pak, then a person has to perform salah with the clothing. You can't remove the clothing in this instance. उसी नजिस कपड़े को पहनकर पढ़ना वाजिब है. It's wajib to wear those napak clothing and to perform your salah. अगर किसी के पास बिल्कुल कपड़ा न हो तो नंगी नमाज पढ़े. If a person is so poor, or maybe a person doesn't have clothing at all whatsoever, for whatever reason person doesn't have clothing, then should a person perform salah? Yes, without clothing a person must perform salah. लेकिन ऐसी जगह पर है कि कोई देख न सके. But perform your salah in such a place where nobody can see you. Nobody can see you. Conceal yourself and perform your salah. और खड़े होकर न पढ़े बल्कि बैठ कर पढ़े. And in this instance, when a person doesn't have clothing on and a person has to perform salah, then a person shouldn't stand, because when you stand, your satar is exposed. It can be seen. So you will sit and read namaz. So your satar is concealed when a person is sitting and reading namaz. How far didn't the minds of the fuqaha, the jurists go, and what masail didn't they explain when it came to salah? और अगर खरे खरे परे और रुकू सजदा अदा करे तो यह भी दुरुस्त है जी, और रुकू सजदा को इशारा से अदा करे जी. So if a person is sitting and performing salah, because a person doesn't have clothing, so now how do you make ruku and sajda? So he's saying your ruku and your sajda also, you will make it with indication. You'll just indicate towards the sajda and towards the ruku. Go a little forward for the ruku, a little more than that for the sajda, and your ruku and sajda will be done. Why? Because a person doesn't have clothing. So if he's going to go into sajda, his satar is going to be exposed. People can see. So in this situation, you don't even make ruku and sajda properly. You will just indicate towards the ruku and the sajda. और अगर खरे खरे परे और रुकू सजदा अदा करे तो भी दुरुस्त है, नमाज हो जाएगी. But if some person didn't have clothing, they stood and they read their namaz, they made the proper ruku, they made the proper sajda, then too the salah of a person will be valid. लेकिन बैठ कर पढ़ना बेहतर है. However, it is better to sit down and read namaz. One last masla. मुसाफरत में किसी के पास थोड़ा सा पानी है. Person is traveling. Whilst traveling, a person got just a little bit of water. A person has got. अगर नजासत धोती है तो वुजू के लिए नहीं बचता. Now if a person, he's got impurity on the clothing, if a person washes off that impurity, he's not going to have water for wudu, right? और अगर वुजू करे तो नजासत पाक करने के लिए पानी न बचेगा. And if a person now makes wudu, he's not going to have water now to remove the impurity. So now what does he give preference to? Does he make wudu or does he give preference to washing the impurity? So for wudu, Shariat, when there's no water, Shariat has given you a substitute. And what is the substitute here? It is tayammum. So you can go to tayammum. But for the napaki that needs to be washed, there is no substitute. That has to be washed out. So you'll take the water and you'll remove the impurity that is on the clothing. And for the wudu that you have to make, you just make tayammum and you perform your salah, and your salah will be done. That's what he's saying. अगर वुजू करे तो नजासत पाक करने के लिए पानी न बचेगा, तो इस पानी से नजासत धो डाले. पर्सन शुड वॉश द नापाकी विद द वाटर, फिर वुजू के लिए तयम्मुम करे. अल्लाह ताला की वस तौफीक. Everybody understands? Anybody has any questions, you can ask also. If there's anything that needs clarification. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Continuing with Anwaar al-Salaah, we had reached the point where we said that Sufi Iqbal, rahimahullah, that he had written 5 points before coming to the actual bayan of Hazrat Shah Ahmad Shaheed rahmatullah alayh. And he said that if a person wants to benefit from that bayan of Hazrat Shah Ahmad Shaheed rahmatullah alayh, then a person should try and act on these 5 points first. And the first point that he mentioned is that a person has to do a course on dhikrullah, and that too properly, in a proper way, under some shaykh, under the guidance of some person. He should do this course and purify the heart first. When the heart of a person is rectified, all his a'mal are going to be rectified. Through zikr, Allah Ta'ala will cleanse the heart will be purified, then his a'mal are going to be rectified, his salah will also come in order, inshallah. So that is the first point that he mentioned. The second point that he mentioned, that a person, what he is doing, he wants to perform a proper salah, this cause that we are doing, it should be done only for Allah Ta'ala. So we can fulfill the command of Allah, we can perform salah correctly. So whatever we're doing is for the pleasure of Allah, not to show people, to say, see, I'm performing a salah where I'm totally absorbed in my salah from the beginning to the end. He says that is not the objective over here. The objective is to please Allah Ta'ala and to perform a proper salah. So have a proper niyat, that while we are sitting here, whatever we're learning, we will make amal on it. We want to please Allah Ta'ala. Every time we sit here also, make a niyat. Allah, we want to please you. That is why we are trying to learn what is a proper salah. And the third thing that he mentioned, that we are required to have khushu, that internal connection with Allah Ta'ala. But which type of khushu? That khushu that is within our ability, not anything that is out of our ability. And what is within our ability, that we need to know what is the faraiz, what is the wajibat, what is the sunnahs, what are the mustahabbat of namaz. All this we need to know. And a person whilst performing salah, if a thought just comes, just occurs, it just comes by the way, a thought affects a person. So a person just think that now I'm continuing, next I have to read the surah, and the surah that I have to read in salah, this is a wajib of namaz. So he just moves forward. After in the surah now he's reading and the thought comes, Next, what I have to do? I have to do my ruku, and the ruku is a faraz of namaz. So he just thinks of what he has to do ahead. So these thoughts that will come, it wouldn't affect his salah. His salah will still be considered as a salah of concentration, because he is thinking what I'm going to do next, which posture I'm going to do next, or what is the hukam, what is the position of that posture. Is it a sunnah? Is it a wajib? Is it a faraz? Is it a faraz? So all this we need to learn. What are the farais of namaz? What are the wajibat of namaz? What are the sunan of namaz? What are the mustahabbat of namaz? So we'll continue from this point. Agar khud ba khud dunyawi khayal aa jaye, if some thought of dunya just comes automatically in namaz, and this also previously we mentioned, the moment that thought comes, no problem, it won't affect your salah. The moment you're conscious of that thought, again quickly bring your namaz. Say, no, I'm in namaz, so let me come back to my salah. And a person will continue in this manner until the end of his salah. But if a person, the thought came, now when he became conscious that, oh, I'm thinking about my business, and he continues thinking of that thought, he doesn't stop, he continues, that is harmful for a person. Or a person thinks, oh, I need to make this booking, I need to phone this person, and now he continues thinking that when will I get a chance, what time will I go there, or where will this person be. Now he keeps thinking on that. That is what is harmful. But the moment the thought comes, you divert your attention when you become conscious. That won't harm a person. Agar khud ba khud dunyawi khayal aa jaye, balke beshumar wasawis bhi aaye. In fact, unlimited thoughts come to you whilst you're performing salah. Unlimited thoughts have to come to you whilst you're performing salah. Lekin namazi apne qasd se aage aane wale asbaq mein mashghul rahe. But the namazi, person performing salah, he remains engrossed of those lessons that are to come ahead, that what I'm going to do next, which posture I'm going to do next. So ye halat namaz ke bahru hone ke munafi nahi. That this condition, it is not against a salah that is of concentration, that is of life. This doesn't harm the salah of a person. Your salah is 100% in order. It is a salah of concentration, because you are not entertaining it voluntarily. It is involuntarily coming, and you are saying, no, next I'm going to do this, next I'm going to continue the surah, next I'm going to go into ruku, and then I'm going to come into the qawma position, and then sajda. So a person continues thinking about salah, it won't affect him. ऐसी हालत में लज्जत महवियत में कमी और मुजाहदा में ज़्यादती होना. He says, in this condition, when these thoughts are coming, these thoughts that are coming involuntarily, they disturb a person. So he said, when these thoughts come, there is going to be decrease in the enjoyment of being engrossed in salah. When a person is engrossed in salah and is really connected to Allah Ta'ala, this we must try to read a salah with full concentration. See the enjoyment when you really connected to Allah Ta'ala. There's so much of enjoyment in salah. That is why a person, he wouldn't want to stop salah. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to say that the coolness of my eyes is in salah, because the enjoyment when you're really connected to Allah, it's a different enjoyment. When the heart is connected and a person is making dua and tears come out, how a person enjoys those tears. He's crying, but how he's enjoying the tears. That, Ya Allah, I wish I can have this condition all the time. Or a person is reading tahajjud namaz, and at that time the tears just flow. Person, especially if he knows the verses of the Quran, the translation, and he thinks of the translation and the tears come out. Really, you cannot pay a price for those tears that come out or those at that occasion. But now when the thoughts are coming in salah, so that enjoyment of being totally engrossed in salah is going to decrease. You're not going to get the full enjoyment. So you have to make more mujahada, and you have to make more effort now to bring your thought back into salah. So on one side you're not getting the full enjoyment, and the other side you're making an effort now to perform a salah, making more effort to perform a proper salah. So what happens? Ek to ajr mein ziyadati ka ba'is hoga. For this, Allah Ta'ala will give you more reward. More reward for this. Because you are going through difficulty. And in spite of going through difficulty, you are now trying your best to perform a proper salah, and the enjoyment also is less. So there's more reward. Like it comes in the hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that a person that reads Quran perfectly, what great reward is for that person. But a person that has difficulty, he's stuttering, and then he is trying to recite Quran Sharif, for that person, there's double reward. Why? Because he is stuttering, he is going through difficulty, and then he is trying to recite Quran. So exactly the same we understand in namaz, that when we're going through this difficulty, we shouldn't lose hope. Actually, our reward is greater by Allah Ta'ala. There are those people that are of the first level. Of the first level, they fully engrossed in salah from the beginning to the end. And the second level is like us, you and I. We have this difficulty, we try to get back into salah. We have the difficulty, again we get back into salah. So some say that the reward that the first category are going to get, some ulama say the reward the first category is going to get, the second category, they will get the same reward because they are making an effort all the time. And others say, no. The second category, they're going to get a higher reward than the first category also. Why? Like that person that is stuttering, he goes through more difficulty. So here he is going through more difficulty, the second category, than the first one. So for him is a higher reward. So we mustn't be despondent. We must be happy that we are going through this, and inshallah we will get more reward. And if a person, Allah gives him the first stage, what to say about that? That is the best. दूसरा, तबई तौर पर अपनी नमाज को नाकिस समझता रहेगा. Now see the second benefit of this. When these thoughts come and we bring our thought back into salah, that naturally a person is going to think that my salah is imperfect. See, when you got that salah where you were fully engrossed in salah, you were absorbed in your salah from the beginning to the end, no thought came in salah. So at that time a person will say, I read a perfect namaz, I read a good namaz. But when these thoughts are going to trouble you in namaz, what a person is going to think? He's going to say, no, you know what? My namaz is incomplete. It's not a perfect namaz. Because this thought came in namaz. जिसकी वजह से उजब से हिफाजत रहेगी. And when a person thinks my namaz is not proper, it is not complete, it is not perfect, then a person will be protected from vanity. And vanity is haram. Where a person thinks, see what a namaz I am reading. That is impermissible. To have that vanity, to have that pride that I am reading a perfect namaz. When that salah is imperfect, when it is not complete, and then a person will be protected from vanity. अगर सारी उम्र भी ये हालत रहे तो मकसद असली रदाई इलाही में पूरा कामयाबी है. Said if a person for his entire life, this is his condition, that these thoughts come, and he every time he brings his thought back into namaz, again the thoughts come, he brings his thought back into namaz. He said that the actual objective, the pleasure of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, if this is kept, then a person has been successful throughout his life if he reads namaz in this way. Because he is trying to please Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala by bringing his thought back into namaz, and he's continuing in this way, he has been successful. अगरचे आम तौर पर यह मुजाहदा जल्द ही खत्म हो जाता है. Although generally a person goes through little difficulty in the beginning, but once he gets habitual of it, then this sacrifice also comes to an end. Where a person has his thoughts run away and then he has to bring it back in namaz, very soon that also goes away. और महबूब के साथ यकसुई से सरगोशी के लज्जत नसीब हो जाती है. And a person, Allah Ta'ala gives him the opportunity of enjoying being in communication and whispering and talking to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala will give him that, Allah will make him his beloved. So very soon this mujahada, this sacrifice will come to an end, and Allah Ta'ala makes it easy for a person. Muhabbat intiha mein mushkilai aasan karti hai. When a person has got muhabbat, you got love for somebody. So in the end, this, even if you go through difficulty, then it will bring an end to the difficulties also. When you have love for something, it brings an end to difficulties. For example, a person, he loves his children, he loves his wife. Now is the time of Eid. And now his wife, she wants a certain type of a garment, or the children want certain type of clothes. So a person, he's Ramadan, he's tired also, he's Roza also. But it's difficult now to go shop to shop and then size it on, and then the child says, no, I don't want this one and I want that one, or the family says, I don't want this one, I want that type of a cloth. Now you got to go to 10 shops. It's difficult. But because you have love, that difficulty is easy for you. Why? Because you got love for them. So when you have love for something, the difficulty that is there, the difficulty will come to an end. Mullah Ibrahim Sahib Devla, Damat Barakatum, he said that any work of haqq, anything that is haqq, he said, ibtida in the beginning of it, there's mushkil, there's difficulty. And he says, intihame, there will be kamyabi. In the end, there will be always success. So whatever, even namaz also, initially we'll go through that difficulty of trying to read a salah of concentration. But in the intiha, in the end of it, inshallah, there will be success. The next point. So this is the third point that he mentioned. The fourth point. Is azim daulat ka ek darja इसके अहल यानी दाकिर व शागिल सालिक को इंशाअल्लाह बेतौफीक इलाही 5 असबाब पूरे करने के बाद हासिल हो जाएगा. He said this great treasure of reading namaz with concentration, he said that person that makes zikr of Allah Ta'ala, spiritual exercises, he treads the path of Allah, one level of this a person will attain inshallah after doing these 5 sabaks, meaning the 5 sabaks of Hazrat Shah Ahmad Shaheed Rahmatullah, which is still to come, we haven't started it as yet. So he says when a person will finish these 5 asbab, you will see one level of concentration a person will get. See, we're just doing the forward of the kitab. And in doing the forward already, when a person now is reading namaz, to some extent now he wants to concentrate in his namaz. So imagine when we come to the actual bayan, and we finish the actual bayan, so he said that this treasure of performing a perfect salah, one level of concentration, Allah Ta'ala will bless us with. फिर इसमें सारी उम्र तरक्की करता रहे. Now, when you got that one level, you got the, so to say, the foundation you got. Now for your entire life, you will continue progressing on that. You won't stop there. You won't say, right, now I got this one level, this is sufficient. No, now you increase. Try to make a more perfect namaz. No matter how perfect your namaz become, you try to get a higher and higher and higher stage. Never ever become content. There are three types of people that you will get in the world. The one type of person is what you get, a qani', a person that he's content. He's content with what he got. That person will never progress in life. He says, right, I get 50 in my exam paper. So I'm happy, I got 50, I passed. Many students in a madrasa are like that. That when they get 50, they say, that's enough for me. 50 is enough, long as I pass, I go to the next year, that's sufficient. He won't go very far in life. Why? Because he's always content. And the second type of a person you get is what you call naqid. Naqid is a person, he always picks on people. He finds faults in people. Everywhere he goes, he comes to a bayan also, he sits and he looks for fault. Haji Abdul Samad Chauhan Saheb was here the other day, and he was telling me, he says that even in the bayan, people sit and they won't worry about the bayan, but they just want to see that where you made a mistake, where sometimes a person forgets, sometimes the English is not right or something. He says that they just want to pick up where did you make a mistake. So he says, be careful that you don't make a mistake when you are speaking. Haji Bhai Padia Saheb Rahmatullah used to say that wherever I go for bayan, one person comes for that bayan. He says, but he sits and writes all my grammatic errors. He sits and writes. And then after that, he comes and tells me, see, you made this mistake. Haji Sahib, you made that mistake. So he said, if Allah wrote that in his share, what can I do? Other people are taking so much of benefit. But he in his share, he's just finding all my faults and talking about all the faults. So that person doesn't go anywhere. Like for example, our Sheikh explains, he gives an example. He says that if you take a swine, that's also the creation of Allah Ta'ala. We don't look down upon it. But if you take it and you put it in the garden, a beautiful, beautiful garden, where does it go? It will go in the corner where all the dirt is. And it will pull out all the dirt from that corner. All the beautiful flowers, the fruits, the orchard, everything, it will leave one side. And it will go where the dirt is. So that shouldn't be our condition. So that's another type of a person. So one is Tani, a content person. Naqid, he's not even anywhere. He's in minus. He'll never get anywhere in life because he finds faults in people. And the third type of a person that you get is a talib, a person that's desirous. No matter how much he got. A student, he got 100. He is not happy with his 100 also. Hey, I could have got more than this. I wrote 5 pages in my exam. I should have wrote 10 pages. There's so much more explanation to this hadith. Or there's so much more explanation to this tafsir. He wants to learn more and more all the time. He wants to make more and more amal. I'm reading tahajjud namaz. I'm reading all my nawafil namaz. But I'm only made maybe half a khatam so far. I should have already finished 2 khatams of the Quran. So that's a talib. A person will increase. So namaz also, no matter how high we go with our namaz, never ever reach the stage where we say, oh, I'm happy now, I'm reading a perfect namaz. No. I can go higher than this also. I can read an even more perfect namaz. Let me try. Let me make Allah Ta'ala more happy. So that's what he's saying. Isme sari umar tarakki karta rahe. Magar pehle ek chille in asbab ka khususi ihtimam kare. He says, but before you do all this, he says for 40 days, a person should show importance to these lessons. Pay attention to these 5 lessons of Shah Ahmad Shaheed Rahmatullahi. See, it's not just a matter of finishing the kitab. Actually, this goes in stages, a person, but we don't have the time for all that. Actually, it's supposed to go in stages. You learn one lesson. The one lesson that you learn for 40 days, now act on that lesson. When that lesson is now in your life, now you're reading Salah correctly. Now we go to lesson number 2. Now after lesson number 2, another 40 days, now act on lesson number 2. And then like that, lesson number 3, and number 4, number 5. So he says that for a chilla, for 40 days, in asbab ka khusus ihtimam kare. ताकि इस्तिकामत और पुख्तगी हासिल हो, so that you become punctual on it, and this now becomes firm in you. That lesson that you learn, when you practicing on it every day for 40 days, what happens? It becomes solid in a person. Now when it is solid, now finish, you don't need that lesson again, because it's already now in a person. Like a youngster, when he's initially doing his sabak, he's doing his sabak door, how weak it is. But if he's doing that door every day, and after 1-2 years, you have to test him. Perfect. He reads it without a mistake also. Why? Because he's making so much of door of that particular para. Exactly the same way. If we do this lesson and we make amal on it for 40 days, it will become firm in a person. इन 40 रोज में इसकी भी कोशिश करें कि किसी नमाज के तकबीर उला फौत ना हो. And he says in these 40 days also, that when you're trying to get your namaz right, he says make an effort that you don't miss the takbir ula. When the imam says Allahu Akbar, that you also don't miss the takbir ula you hear in the masjid with the imam. Taake, why? What's the benefit of this? Taake nifaq se bara'at hasil ho jaye. When a person he reads namaz for 40 days behind the imam with takbir ula, then he gets 2 certificates. One is bara'atum minan nifaq, and the second he gets bara'atum minan nar. Allah gives him freedom from hypocrisy. And second, Allah Ta'ala gives him freedom from the fire of Jahannam. 2 certificates he's got. Now the namaz that doesn't have concentration in it, what type of a namaz is that? Very unmindful. That is a namaz of hypocrisy. So if a person, Allah Ta'ala gives him freedom from hypocrisy by reading namaz 40 days behind the imam, what will happen? Your namaz will come right, because you're out of hypocrisy. So see the benefit of reading namaz with takbir ula behind the imam for 40 days. Ghaflat wali namaz parna munafaqat ka ek athar hai. That to read a salah of negligence and mindfulness, this is the effect of hypocrisy. Or hadith pak mein aaya hai, it is mentioned in the hadith pak, jo shakhs 40 roz is tarah namaz pare. He's mentioned the hadith that that person that reads namaz for 40 days in this way, ke shuru mein imam ke saath sharik ho, that he starts his namaz with the imam. When the imam says Allahu Akbar, then he starts his namaz with the imam. और नमाज शुरू करने की तकबीर जब इमाम कहे, and the takbir of salah when the imam starts it, तो उसी वक्त ये भी नमाज में शरीक हो जाए, then immediately this person is with the imam, he joins him right from the beginning, not even a little later, with the takbir he joins the imam. तो वो शख्स न तो जहन्नम में दाखिल होगा और न मुनाफिकों में दाखिल होगा. This person, he won't go to Jahannam also inshallah, and this person will never be included amongst the hypocrites as well. So 40 days salah behind the imam with takbir ula will get him these 2 certificates. He further explains, he said, now who are the munafiq? Munafiq वो लोग कहलाते हैं जो अपने को मुसलमान जाहिर करें. Munafiq are those people that they expose themselves that we are Muslims. They act like they are Muslim. लेकिन दिल में कुफर रखते हो, but in their heart is kufr. Outwardly they showing I'm a Muslim, but in reality there's kufr in the heart. और 40 दिन के खुसूसियत बज़ाहिर इस वजह से है. So you say, why the speciality? 40 days everywhere. Jamaat also 40 days, Khanqa also 40 days, Zikr also 40 days, and to do this cause, every lesson 40 days. Why 40 days all the time? He says, इसकी वजह 40 दिन की खुसूसियत बज़ाहिर इस वजह से कि हालात के तग़य्युर में 40 दिन को खास दखल है. That in the changing of conditions, in the change of condition, 40 days has a special effect. This is proven from the Quran Sharif, where Allah Ta'ala speaks about, and the Hadith Sharif as well, where Allah Ta'ala speaks about the creation of the child. ثُمَّ خَلَقْنَا النُّطْفَةَ, that initially it was a drop of sperm, and after the drop of sperm, ثُمَّ خَلَقْنَا النُّطْفَةَ عَلَقَةً, that drop of sperm after 40 days, what does it become? It becomes blood. ثُمَّ خَلَقْنَا النُّطْفَةَ عَلَقَةً فَخَلَقْنَا الْعَلَقَةَ مُضْغَةً, and after 40 days, that blood now it transforms into flesh, mudgha. فَخَلَقْنَا الْمُضْغَةَ عِظَامًا, and after 40 days, that flesh now becomes a bone. فَكَسَوْنَا الْعِظَامَ لَحْمًا, and then we cover that bone with flesh again. So see, there's a 40 day period. And after a period when the child reaches, I think it is 4 months, or 120 days, I'm not sure, then the ruh is instilled within the child. So the 40-day period has a great effect in the life of a person. चुनाचे आदमी के पैदाइश के तरतीब में, so he says that in the creation of a child, जिस हदीस में आई है, इसमें 40 दिन तक नुत्फा रहना. That in that hadith where the sequence of the creation of the child has been mentioned, in that hadith it is mentioned that 40 days it is a sperm, फिर गोश्त का टुकड़ा, then it becomes a piece of meat. 40 दिन तक इसी तरह 40 दिन में इसका तगय्युर जिक्र फरमाया है. So everything happens in a 40-day period. These changes come about in a 40-day period. So when a person practices for 40 days, then also a change will come about. कितने खुशकिस्मत है वो लोग जिनके बरसों भी तकबीर उला फौत नहीं हुई. How fortunate are those people that for years they never missed the takbir ula. So this is the 4th lesson that he mentioned, the 4th point, and last is the 5th point. He says that 5 asbab का निसाब और मश्क का चिल्ला पूरा कर लेने के बाद इस कोशिश में कामयाबी की अलामत यह है. He says that if a person he completes the syllabus. These 5 sabaks that are here, that we're going to do, a person completes the syllabus. And after every 40 days, he made effort also. For 40 days, he acted on each sabak. So he did that also, and he finished the entire course. Now, what is the indication that you have been successful, that you got the ability of reading a proper namaz? He said, ये कि अज़मत इलाही जल्ल शानहू के पेश नज़र अपनी इस हादरी में यानी नमाज में बेहद कोताही करने वाला बड़ा मुजरिम समझते हुए अपने ऊपर करीम आका की मेहरबानी का मुशाहदा करें. That a person, before the greatness of Allah Ta'ala, now you got to read a proper namaz. When you got to read a proper namaz, the sign that you have been successful in your namaz is this, that before the greatness of Allah Ta'ala, when a person, he presents himself and is performing salah, he regards himself as one that is a great criminal, that I am a very, very great criminal. And there are a lot of deficiencies in me. Now he's reading a proper namaz, a perfect namaz. But in spite of this, Allah Ta'ala is so great. Before the greatness of Allah, I am a criminal, I am a sinner. And there's unlimited faults in me, unlimited deficiencies in me. And it is just the kindness of Allah Ta'ala that Allah Ta'ala is showering me. Allah is giving me the tawfiq to read this type of a namaz. He says, this is the indication. This is the indication that you have now succeeded in that cause of yours. But the moment a person thought, see now what type of a namaz I am reading. My namaz has come right. I am now better than others. Finish. That man is a failure. He, in fact, of going up, he went right down. He went even lower than before. So all the time that I am nothing, Allah, it's only your kindness, only attributed to Allah, your mehrbani, your kindness upon me. Ke namaz mein meri beadabi aur gandagi ke bawajud, that in spite of my disrespect in namaz and in spite of my filth and dirt, what is the body filled of? If a person just gets cut, blood comes out, what happens? Namaz is gone. If semen comes out, finish, ghusl is gone. So the body is only filled of napaki. That in spite of my impurity, in spite of my be'adabi, ke bawajud mere haziri ko kabool farma liya. Allah, you allowed me to come in your house. You allowed me to read namaz. This is your kindness upon me. I am not even fit to come here. So think of the kindness of Allah. Don't think that I am doing a favor, that I am coming to masjid, I am reading namaz, I am better. No. Oh Allah, you gave me the tawfiq. If Allah wants, within a second, Allah Ta'ala can take it away from a person also. Ye qadam utte nahi uthaye jate hain. These feet, they don't get up on their own. We don't get up on our own and come for salah. These feet are lifted. Allah Ta'ala picks them up and gives us a tawfiq of coming here. Main aaya nahi laya gaya ho. I didn't come on my own. I was brought here to the masjid. Muhabbat de ke tarpaya gaya ho. I was given the love of Allah Ta'ala. I couldn't attain the love of Allah Ta'ala. So this is the attitude of a person. Ke bar bar haziri ki tawfiq de rakhi. Allah Ta'ala gave me the tawfiq coming again and again. Each time we come, make shukr. Allah, you gave me the tawfiq to come to your house. You gave me the tawfiq of i'tikaf. You gave me the tawfiq of fasting. Make shukr to Allah Ta'ala. Iska shukr kare. Agar khuda na khasta halat iske baraks ho ke ab apne ko kamil aur baru namaz parne wala khiyar kare. If your condition, Allah save us, is opposite to this, that you think that I am now perfect and I am reading a salah of full concentration or devotion, ye khiyal shukr hi ke rang mein aaya. Even though this thought came to you in the form of shukr, I'm reading a perfect namaz. Oh, I must make shukr to Allah Ta'ala because I got a perfect namaz. So what you're saying, I must make shukr because I got a perfect namaz. He said कि अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह मुझे अच्छी और कामिल नमाज की तौफीक हो गई, तो खूब समझ ले कि वो अपनी कोशिश में पूरी तरह से नाकाम है. And remember, that person is a total failure in this work of his. Even though it comes in the form of shukr, you are saying alhamdulillah, shukr to Allah. But what you are saying, I'm making shukr because I read a perfect namaz. He said that person is a failure. Never ever think that my salah is a perfect salah. One person, he was with Hazrat Mufti Mahmud Saheb rahmatullah alayhi. So in the Khanqa of Mufti Mahmud Saheb rahmatullah alayhi, great ulama, Mona Brahul Haq Saheb rahmatullah alayhi used to come. And many other great akabirin used to come. So one day, this alim, he explained when he came to South Africa, he said that all great ulama were there. And then they told me I must make imamat. So he said that I went and I started the imamat. I said, how can I be making imamat? Such great people over here. How can, and my thoughts just started running in that way. And then in the end, I finished my namaz. Then he went to Hazrat Mufti Saheb. So he told us, Mufti Saheb, this is what happened. That these thoughts were just troubling me in namaz. That great ulama, how can I be making imamat in front of them? Hazrat Mufti Saheb said, what was the end of your namaz? How did you end your namaz? He said, the end of my namaz was I spoiled everyone's namaz. Hazrat Mufti Saheb said, you are perfect. That is the way, your namaz is right. He says, if you thought, see, I am somebody and how many great people are reading behind me, that pride can finish. Now you're a failure. Inshallah, we'll continue from here.
Allahu Akbar.